You're very passionate about TikTok. We have a 75-day extension. What do you hope is accomplished in the next month and a half?
There's a lot of things all of us are hoping for, but at the center of the negotiations, my primary focus is that the vice president and the president are keeping central to their negotiations the importance of saving 7.1 million small businesses and not focusing on letting the company pass into the hands of a corporation that's focused on increasing their share of monopolist control of markets. So I want to make sure the 7.1 million small business owners are kept at the forefront, along with making sure that whoever buys it is dedicated to preserving the freedom of speech of 170 million Americans.
Kenya, you have focused your energy not just on TikTok, but other social platforms as well. Do you believe you've done enough to get your business remaining as sustainable as it is without TikTok if the app does disappear?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like one of the things that I always teach people is that we don't own our platform. So like when you have a massive audience on a platform, you don't actually own it. And so I have been for the last 5 years making sure that the people that are connected to me on TikTok are on my email list or text message list so that I have control over being able to talk to them no matter what happens with the platform.
You think it'll be just as successful even if TikTok disappears, at least for your business?
I think it'll be an uphill battle for sure. Because I mean, we have a massive audience there, and we get a lot of opportunities because I teach TikTok marketing. But I think it'll be an uphill battle a little bit. But I think we'll be able to sustain somewhat.
Tiffany, you advocate for small businesses that operate on TikTok. What do you say to these small business owners to prepare? How do they prepare for the possibility of this platform being banned?
If I'm being honest, there's so many different types of small businesses that succeed on TikTok that can't succeed on any other social media platform in their current iterations, that for many of them, they don't have that option to just look to go somewhere else. So what I tell them is that they need to take an active role in this process. I don't believe for a single second that President Donald J. Trump wants the closure of 7.1 million small businesses or the loss of millions of small businesses employees on his tally sheet. I believe that when he saved it the first time, this became his problem. And I believe that we have to take an active role in driving the narrative to ensure that whoever acquires the portion of TikTok that allows it to remain is doing what's right for the small businesses and doing what's right for the users, instead of just doing what's right for a billionaire's pocketbook. And so it's really important that they take an active role. At the same time, they should be diversifying in some ways. I don't generally encourage my small businesses to give business to the platforms that have spent tens of millions of dollars to ensure the destruction of TikTok, like Meta. That's something that I don't encourage, because I think that's actually showing that the process would be winning.
Tiffany, is it the algorithm that's so important to TikTok businesses? Does it come down to that?
That's a part of it. Meta's algorithm and YouTube's algorithm is specifically designed to impede small business access to organic growth. 99% of each of their revenue is driven entirely by ads in small businesses primarily. So they've lost tens of billions of dollars to TikTok because on TikTok, their algorithm is designed for immediate organic growth without buy-in. Small businesses don't have to pay to access their audiences on TikTok, and that's why it's cost Meta and Apple and Google so dearly.
Thank you for that explanation. I did not know that. Kenya, as someone who uses other platforms, have you noticed a difference in recent weeks to make those other platforms, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, a more desirable alternative?
Oh yeah. So of course, since they were talking about the TikTok ban, but at least like over the last couple of months, you're seeing where people like Facebook, like Mark Zuckerberg, he's having all these conversations with big influencers, and one, it looks like he's trying to do it so he can figure out what people are looking for. But I also think it's so they can attract people to those platforms. I think it was Instagram. One of them, they were paying TikTok creators a lot of money to start creating content on the platform. I think it was Instagram, and you're watching all the conversation happening right now with Instagram talking about taking Reels and making it a standalone app similar to TikTok. So the big boys they're making lots of changes. They're doing a lot of longer form content, and they're doing a lot more TikTok-like things in case of a ban or to try to attract people off of TikTok to their platform.
Tiffany, I have about 30 seconds. Very quickly, tell me about these TikTok-a-thons that you've been hosting.
I've been hosting TikTok-a-thons in the evenings where regular creators bring together 40 million of their followers, and we work together to talk to Donald J. Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, and ask them to make sure they're remembering these small businesses in every negotiation they go into. We make our voices heard and we connect with our elected officials, which is something that most people don't realize TikTok is being used for. It brings us closer to our elected officials in a very intimate way, and it gives us access to talk to them directly.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.